She was a billionaire CEO, too busy for bedtime stories, too distracted to notice her own son's silent tears. But everything changed the day she saw a school janitor holding her crying child behind the gym. What happened next didn't just stop her. It shattered her beliefs about love, parenting, and success. This isn't just another emotional story. It's a powerful reminder of what really matters. Samantha Reynolds had it all: fortune, fame, and a face recognized in every boardroom across the country. Her name filled financial headlines, and her company's success made her one of the most powerful women in America. But despite all that, there was one thing she hadn't figured out: how to be present for her 6-year-old son, Liam. Every morning was a blur. Samantha's luxury SUV rolled up to the entrance of Hawthorne Academy, the city's most elite private school. A driver opened the door while Samantha, already mid-conversation on a business call, barely turned to glance at her son. Liam climbed out quietly, clutching his small blue backpack. His eyes searched her face, hoping for a smile or just a "have a good day," but it never came. "Move the China deal to Thursday and tell them we want a 7% cut or we walk," she said sharply into her phone. Her heels clicked against the pavement as she walked beside Liam, but her presence felt miles away. "Bye, Mommy," Liam whispered. She nodded without looking, shut the door, and the SUV glided away before Liam even turned toward the school gates. Inside Hawthorne Academy, teachers noticed. Liam was a quiet boy, not the kind to throw tantrums or act out. He was polite, smart, and strangely mature for his age. But he always sat alone. During recess, he didn't run around with the others. He'd sit on the bench by the old oak tree, quietly watching or drawing with a broken pencil. Miss Hannah, his homeroom teacher, often found herself torn. She once tried calling Samantha, suggesting a brief parent-teacher meeting, but the reply came through her assistant. "Ms. Reynolds appreciates your concern, but her schedule is currently full. Please email updates." Still, Hannah believed Samantha wasn't cold-hearted, just lost. Lost in board meetings, time zones, deadlines, and the constant chase of bigger goals. People assumed that giving your child the best school, organic lunches, and premium health care meant you were a good parent. But parenting wasn't in the price tag. It was in the pause, in the time you gave, and in the little moments you showed up. But Samantha didn't have time for little moments. One rainy morning, Samantha was on another back-to-back conference call as she dropped Liam off. The rain dripped slowly down the side windows, making the school building look like a watercolor painting from Liam's favorite storybook. She barely noticed him shivering as he stepped out. She didn't notice that his hoodie was soaked from the ride, that he left his lunchbox behind on the seat, or that he turned around twice, hoping she'd open the window and wave. She didn't see any of that. Inside her mind, there were only numbers, deadlines, profits. The car drove off. Inside the school, Liam walked the hallway slowly, dragging his steps. His eyes lingered on every parent who stayed a little longer, hugging their kids or fixing their collars. He didn't cry, at least not then. But someone saw him. Not a teacher, not a classmate, someone no one ever noticed. Mr. David, the janitor. Mr. David had worked at Hawthorne Academy for nearly 8 years. Most people barely noticed him. He was quiet, moved with a kind of calm that didn't demand attention, and spoke only when needed. But he noticed everything, especially the small things, like the child who always sat alone, or the lunchbox that was never opened. He often walked slowly around the campus during recess. Not because the grounds needed constant cleaning, they didn't, but because it gave him time to keep an eye on the kids who didn't quite fit in. Liam was one of them. It started with small things. One day, Mr. David found a broken crayon on the bench by the oak tree. He saw Liam's unfinished drawing and gently left a sharper pencil beside it the next day. Liam never said thank you, but the following morning, he started looking for Mr. David during recess. Just a quick glance, just enough. There was a quiet understanding forming between them, one that didn't need words. Then came Tuesday that changed everything. Liam had wandered behind the gymnasium during lunch. It was the only place no one ever came. The sky was overcast, and the wind carried the bite of early winter. He sat on the steps, pulling his knees to his chest, his small fingers gripping the sleeves of his uniform. His head was down. Silent tears slid down his cheeks, and he didn't even try to stop them. That's where Mr. David found him. He didn't ask questions right away. He didn't tell Liam to stop crying or tell him he was strong. He just knelt down slowly beside him, keeping a respectful distance. Then, gently, he pulled off his own thick work jacket and wrapped it around the boy's shoulders. "I thought I'd find you here," he said softly. "Didn't see you on your usual bench." Liam sniffled, not looking up. "She forgot my lunch." Again. Mr. David didn't say anything at first. He just sat down beside him, not too close, not too far. "You hungry?" he asked. Liam nodded, wiping his face on the sleeve of the jacket. "I got an extra sandwich today," David said. "Tuna. Not fancy, but it's warm. You want it?" Liam looked at him, eyes red but curious. "Why do you care?" David smiled, but it was a quiet, sad kind of smile. "Because sometimes, when people are busy, it's easy to forget little things. Doesn't mean they don't care." Liam didn't answer, but he unwrapped the sandwich slowly, like it was something precious. For the next 15 minutes, they just sat there, eating, not talking much, just existing in the same space, like two people who understood something unspoken. And then Liam did something he hadn't done in a long time. He leaned into someone. He rested his head gently on Mr. David's arm, his small body finally letting go of the tension it carried all day. David looked down at the boy, surprised for a moment, then placed a careful hand on his back. "Do you miss her?" he asked softly. Liam didn't answer, but the silence said enough. That moment, behind the gym on a cloudy Tuesday, would have passed unnoticed by everyone, but not for long, because that was the exact moment Samantha Reynolds decided to make an unplanned visit to the school. Samantha Reynolds hadn't planned on stopping by the school that afternoon. She never did. But something was bothering her, something she couldn't name. Maybe it was the silence in the SUV after she dropped Liam off. Or maybe it was the way he looked back through the rain-smeared window, eyes heavy, lips pressed into a line like he wanted to say something, but knew it wouldn't matter. Her meetings had wrapped early, for once. As the car pulled up to Hawthorne Academy, she tapped her fingers against her phone screen, eyes shifting toward the school entrance. No assistant, no press, just her. The front office staff were surprised to see her. One of them nearly stood from her chair when Samantha walked in. "Ms. Reynolds, is everything all right?" "I'm here for Liam," she said quickly, brushing off the surprise in their faces. "I just want to check in." "Oh, he should be in class, or maybe recess." The receptionist scrambled to check the schedule. Samantha waved her off. "It's fine, I'll find him." She walked briskly down the hallways she'd never really paid attention to before. Paintings made by children lined the walls. One had Liam's name scrawled in red at the bottom of a picture of a house, a sun, and a woman standing alone. Samantha paused, heart flickering in her chest, but then shook it off. She turned a corner, walked past the library, past the cafeteria, still no sign of him. Then, heading toward the rear exit near the gym, she stepped out into the cold wind. That's when she saw them. Liam, curled up on a concrete step behind the gym, his small frame wrapped in a brown, oversized jacket. And next to him, an older man, the janitor, sitting close, a hand resting gently on her son's back. Time slowed. Her heels clicked hard against the pavement as she stormed forward, voice sharp. "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing with my son?" Liam jumped, startled, eyes wide, as he pulled away from Mr. David. The sandwich wrapper fell to the ground. Mr. David stood up calmly, his hands raised slightly, not in fear, but in peace. "Ma'am, don't ma'am me," Samantha snapped. Her voice was loud enough to echo off the brick wall. "Who gave you permission to touch my child? Where are the teachers? What is going on here?" Liam looked frozen, not scared of Mr. David, but terrified of her. I was just... He tried to say something, but Samantha didn't even look at him. Her eyes were locked on the man beside him. Within seconds, two staff members ran over, Miss Hannah and Mr. Bennett, the assistant principal. "Ms. Reynolds, please, there's no need to raise your voice." "No need? I walk out here and see this man holding my son like Like he's some kind of savior? Or worse, why was he even alone with him? Miss Hannah stepped between them, her tone calm but firm. Please, let us explain. Mr. David, he didn't do anything wrong. He's always been kind to the children. He saw Liam sitting alone and— My son doesn't need the janitor to comfort him, Samantha snapped. That's when Liam's voice broke through. Yes, I do. It was barely above a whisper, but everyone heard it. Samantha turned sharply to him. What did you say? Liam's eyes filled again, not with fear, but with something else, something harder. He tells me you love me, even when you're not here. The wind blew. For a moment, no one moved. Mr. David lowered his hands, voice soft and steady. I didn't mean to overstep, he said, looking only at Samantha now. But I think you deserve to know why he was crying. Samantha's jaw clenched. Don't pretend to know anything about my son. David didn't argue. He just looked at her, calm, certain. And then he said the words that made everyone fall silent. He wasn't crying because he was hurt. He was crying because he missed you. Samantha froze. The wind seemed to stop. The clouds above lingered, heavy and low, but in that moment, nothing moved, except the slight quiver of her lips as she tried to process what he had just said. Liam stood still, eyes lowered, as if ashamed of needing something as simple as his mother's presence. He missed me, she repeated slowly, her voice almost unrecognizable, no longer sharp, but uncertain, fragile. Mr. David nodded gently. Yes, he wasn't hungry for food. He was hungry for you. Samantha turned to her son, her hands trembling slightly. Liam, is that true? Liam didn't speak, but his silence screamed. His little hands balled into fists at his sides, like he didn't want to cry again in front of everyone. Then, in the quiet, he whispered, He listens to me, Mommy. He talks to me. He tells me you love me, even when you're not here. She held him back, longer than she ever had before. Samantha blinked hard. I do love you, baby. Her voice cracked. I thought I was doing everything right. Mr. David looked down at his shoes, took a breath, then spoke, not with judgment, but with something else, something deeper. I used to be a school counselor, he said softly, eyes now meeting hers. Worked with kids for over a decade, listened to their fears, sat with them when their parents missed recitals, helped them understand the things adults forget to say. Samantha looked stunned. You were a counselor? He nodded. Until I had to walk away. My son, Nathan, was diagnosed with leukemia, stage 4. Insurance covered some of it, but not enough. There was a pause, heavy with the kind of pain only a parent could truly understand. I sold my car, left my job, took whatever work I could to stay close to him. Cleaning schools, fixing lights, unclogging toilets, it didn't matter. I just needed to be near him. I didn't want him to feel alone. Miss Hannah covered her mouth quietly. Mr. Bennett looked away, wiping his eyes. David continued, his voice trembling now, not from fear but memory. He passed away 2 years ago, right here in this city. Samantha's breath hitched. I'm so sorry, she murmured. But he wasn't done. He spent his last 6 months in a private children's hospital, St. Elora's. They said it was a miracle we even got in. Said some corporate sponsor paid off a large part of our remaining bills. Samantha blinked. St. Elora's? David nodded. Yeah, we never found out who the donor was. They kept it anonymous, but we were told it was someone who'd given in honor of a friend's child, a one-time gift. Saved my boy's life, for a little while longer. He looked at her then, eyes filled with both pain and peace. I looked it up later. It was your name on the foundation records. Silence hit the schoolyard like a thunderclap. Samantha staggered back a step. No, that donation was in memory of my assistant's niece. She died at the same hospital. David smiled faintly. And because of that one act, I had 6 more months with my son. She covered her mouth as the tears began to fall. This time, she didn't try to stop them. He used to draw pictures of the sky, David said softly, said he wanted to float above the world, where no one was too busy to love. No one said a word. The woman who had walked in, furious and defensive, was now standing in the cold, shattered in silence. No longer the CEO, no longer the woman with headlines and power behind her name. Just a mother, realizing everything she had missed. She slowly turned to Liam, crouching down to meet his eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered, voice trembling. "I didn't know how much you needed me. I thought I was showing love by giving you the best, but I forgot the one thing you needed most." Liam stared at her for a moment. Then, without a word, he wrapped his arms around her neck and held her tight. She held him back, longer than she ever had before. That hug didn't break, it healed. Samantha stayed kneeling, her expensive coat touching the muddy ground, arms wrapped around her son like letting go might cause her to lose him all over again. She didn't care who was watching, the CEO, the billionaire, the headlines, none of it mattered. "I'm so sorry, Liam," she whispered again, holding the back of his head. "From now on, I'll listen. I'll be here." Mr. David quietly stepped back, giving them space. He knew this moment wasn't his, it was theirs. But Liam turned his head slightly and called out, "Don't go." David paused. Samantha wiped her tears and stood up, facing him. Her eyes were still red, but now they held something new. Clarity. "You stayed when I didn't," she said softly. "You listened when I was too distracted to hear. You gave him comfort when I gave him silence." David shook his head. "You were doing what you thought was right." "No," she said gently. "I was doing what was easy for me, not what was right for him." There was a pause, the kind where two people understand more in silence than in 1,000 words. She glanced at Miss Hannah and Mr. Bennett. "I've built charities, sponsored tech, given to causes I've never even visited. But I miss the cause sitting in my own car's back seat every morning." She looked at David again. "You could have judged me. Instead, you filled the space I left behind. With kindness." He gave a humble smile. "I just saw a kid who needed a hand." She stepped closer. "I run a foundation, one that's supposed to help children in education, but I think I've been missing the real work." She took a breath. "I want you to come work with me." David blinked. "Me?" "Yes, not as a janitor, as a mentor, a counselor, someone who can connect with these kids in ways I clearly can't." His eyes filled with cautious hope. "You really mean that?" "I've never meant anything more," she replied. "You saved my son today, not just from tears, but from becoming emotionally invisible." David swallowed hard. "I'd be honored." "And one more thing," she added. "No more fixing pipes, no more scrubbing floors. From today, your job will be to help kids like Liam find their voice, before they lose it completely." Liam tugged at David's hand, smiling. "Does that mean you're staying?" David smiled down at him. "Looks like I am." The bell rang in the distance, signaling the end of the lunch break, but for Samantha, it was the beginning of something entirely new. She turned to the teachers. "I'll need to take Liam early today." "Of course," Miss Hannah nodded. As Samantha walked toward her car, Liam's small hand in hers, she turned back to David once more. "You gave me something today I'll never forget." "I didn't do anything special," he replied. "Yes, you did," she said, her voice warm. "You reminded me what love looks like." Later that evening, Samantha sat on the couch at home, not in a conference room, not on a plane, not on a business call. Just her and Liam, wrapped in a blanket, watching old cartoons. Her phone buzzed. She turned it off. No deals today. No meetings. No headlines. Just her son, laughing against her arm. Just the quiet of love. And in a forgotten drawer somewhere, a framed photo sat, of a boy named Nathan, drawing the sky, dreaming of a world where no child feels unloved. Sometimes, it's not wealth or status that makes the biggest impact. It's a quiet act of kindness, a moment of listening when no one else does. This story reminds us that children don't need perfection, they need presence. If this story moved you, share it with someone who might need the reminder, because sometimes the most unexpected people can teach us the most unforgettable lessons.